Good evening. Welcome to Crawley Borough Council's Planning Committee meeting. I'm Councillor Pritchard, Chair of the committee. There are no scheduled fire drills tonight, so in the event of a fire alarm, please leave the building via the spiral staircase and the main reception door. Once outside, turn left and go to the fire assembly point on Exchange Road. If you're unable to use the stairs, you will be guided by a member of staff to the evacuation lift. This meeting is being live streamed via the Council's YouTube channel. Please note there is no comment function available. The Council is the data controller and will retain the data collected during this webcast. This will be done in accordance with the Council's published data retention policy. Anyone seated in the public gallery should be aware that by entering the room you are consenting to your being captured by the automated camera system. Recordings will be used for webcasting or training purposes. The meeting agenda is available on the Council's website. Around the tables sit the committee members who will be making decisions on the items before them. Officers of the Council are also in attendance, and I'll invite them to introduce themselves now.
Good evening, I'm Jess Tamplin, Democratic Services Officer.
Good evening, Siraj Chowdhury, Head of Governance.
Good evening, Mark Robinson, Principal Planning Officer.
Good evening, I'm Val Cheeseman, Principal Planning Officer.
Good evening, Clem Smith, Head of Economy and Planning.
I have received apologies from Councillor Magali and Councillor Burgess. Are there any other apologies? I think we're all here otherwise. We'll now take items 2 and 3 together. I will call upon committee members to declare any interests or lobbying in relation to any of the items. Please also declare if you visited any of the sites. Councillor Abu Musa.
I haven't visited any site, no declaration of interest. I haven't been lobbied.
Councillor Adjoining.
I've never been to any of the sites. I've never been lobbied, and I've got any particular interest in any personal interest in any of the applications today. Thank you.
Councillor Bidwell.
Good evening. I haven't visited the sites of interest to declare, and I haven't been lobbied. Thank you.
Councillor Hart.
I have no disclosures of interest. I haven't been lobbied and I haven't visited any of the sites.
Councillor Jaggard.
Good evening. I've not been lobbied. No disclosures of interest to declare. I visited the site of application number 5 previously when we last year. Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Khan.
Hi, Chair. No interest to declare. I've not been lobbied. I've visited any sites.
Chair, I have no interest to declare. I'd like to declare I've been lobbied on item number 5 in the past, and I have visited the site in the past as well, and I've not been lobbied on the other ones. Thank you.
Councillor Patel.
Good evening. I have no interest to declare. I haven't been lobbied. And what's the last one?
Have you visited
I
the site?
And I haven't visited the sites. There we go. Thank you.
And Councillor Yanni.
Good evening. I have not visited the sites. I have no declaration of interest and I have not been lobbied.
And I have no interests to declare. I have been lobbied and I have visited the site for item 5, the last time to committee, but not this time. Also, I'd like to point out with item number 7, I share a name with the agent of the application, but I'm not related in any way. Okay, now come to the minutes of the last meeting held in February 2025. I understand Councillor Jaggard has a correction.
Thank you. Item 4, page 7, the leisure park. We spent a lot of time discussing the parking situation there, and some of that has been minuted in car park management plan, cycle parking, etc. But we also, I raised the possibility of extending the multi-storey car park as it was being reconfigured refigured, possibly building an additional floor, half a floor. And we talked about that. And later on in the meeting, we deferred the decision so that further discussion could take place about the car parking situation. But that part of it, the possibility of a multi-storey car park extension, was not being minuted. And I wondered if we could add just a sentence or so into the minutes to reflect that discussion we had.
Okay, we've heard Councillor Jaggard's comments. Can I have a seconder for that amendment, Councillor Hart? Okay, we will now ask that the committee agree that the minutes as amended are a correct record. The amendment will be made by the Democratic Services Officer after this meeting. So are we agreed that the minutes are a true record? Thank you. We will now move on to agenda item 5. CR 20220609 FUL, Linac House and adjoining land, Fleming Way, Northgate. Ask the officer to introduce the report.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, this relates to Linac House in Manor Royal. This application for the redevelopment of the site for the construction of 3 commercial buildings is being brought back tonight to consider the requirements of the new local plan policies and the EPF. The background to the application is that it was originally considered by the committee on 23rd of April 2024, when it was resolved to delegate the decision to the head of economy and plan, subject to the conclusion of tax regulations consultation with natural wind relating to neutrality, and subsequently the provision of a Section 106 legal agreement and the imposition of conditions. Natural England has since advised they have no objections, subject to water neutrality measures being secured by the revised conditions. Discussions on the Section 106 legal agreement have progressed, are still ongoing, and so it has not been finally completed, and so the decision has not been issued to date. In addition, the Crawley Borough Local Plan was adopted in October 2024 and the MPPF was revised in December 2024. Thus, the application is being brought back to the committee to consider the current policy situation, as this is the only changed issue for consideration and assessment since the earlier resolution in April. Firstly, I will show the plans to illustrate the scheme as a reminder and some photographs, and then I will comment on the conclusions of the policy assessment. First of all, the location plan. So the site is on Fleming Way, close to the junction with the London Road roundabout. So the site contains Linac House, the office block, and then some commercial production buildings for Electa, with car parking on the remainder of the site, with an access point on the eastern side. So the proposal, I'll just draw that up a bit more, is for the erection of 3 buildings on the site, retaining the point on the eastern side, and then 2 fronting Fleming Way on the rear, with car parking to the front and in the central section of the site. Each unit would have a lorry parking area and a servicing yard, and also parking facilities. You can see on the plans the landscape basically along the Fleming Way frontage. Some elevations. So these are the two units out of the site fronting onto Way, and you can see they are a mixture of metal cladding, also with glazing, emphasise the entrance and the office sort of area associated with those units, with a variety of cladding colours and profiles. And then Unit 3 to the rear is very similar design. Again with the cladding and the glazing. We do have some 3D views, sort of artist impressions, which perhaps are a little bit clearer to see. So here is Linac House as existing, and then this is the proposal. Zoom in a bit more on that one. You can see the cladding, but also glazed entrances and office areas and sort of canopy area. Yeah, the sort of architectural design of it to increase the height of it, because there was concern previously about how it related to the Fleming frontage. And then this is another one showing the existing arrangement, and then the proposed with the two units 1 and 2 towards the frontage. Got landscape master plan. So in particular, the landscaping is focused towards the front of the site, with the retention of the existing hedge, planting of a row of trees and additional landscaping and hedging, and also additional planting around the front to make an attractive feature to the entrance, with also areas pointing towards the rear of the site. And then finally, in terms of plans, I have a phasing plan that's mentioned in the report, because the site is going to be developed on a phased basis. So this is phase 1, where Unit 1, which would be occupied by Elector, would be developed first, and you can see it would still have parking and yard area. Then the second phase is where Unit 3 would be developed, and again that's got its own yard area and parking. And then the final phase is Unit 2, which completes the redevelopment, and again that's got its parking area and yard area. The landscaping would be finalised at that point. Now I've got some photographs of the site. So this is from the roundabout, looking towards Cornerstone House, with in the distance. Then along Fleming Way with Linac House, and then the hotel, the adjacent site in the distance there. And then looking back towards the roundabout, so Linac House here, that's Unit J at the moment as part of the manufacturing research facility, and then Cornerstone in the distance. Linac House there, close up of Cornerstone, the sort of main building on the adjacent site, and then Building J in the middle, and then this is excerpt from Google, but this is on London Road. See the Elector car park, and then Cornerstone in the distance, and then through the gap you can see Linac House. You know, a large landscaped area there. Just go back to the site plan. Right. The report sets out and assesses the new policy considerations that apply to the scheme in the light of the MPPF and the newly adopted local plan. So the considerations are health and well-being, design, net gain, parking, infrastructure contributions, employment and public art. Following this evaluation, there are some additional requirements that apply to this application, and they are that an employment and skills plan is required, and that's now a specific local plan requirement. We did secure one previously, but that wasn't a specific policy in the local plan, but it is now. And then the other requirement is public art, to a value of 1% of build costs, and that could either be on the site or somewhere in the borough. So these additional elements are to be included within the legal agreement, and these have already been drafted and circulated and are the subject of negotiations. It is hoped the agreement will be signed shortly, thereafter that the permission could be issued, subject to the committee decision. In addition, the conditions need to be updated from the previous time considered at committee to reflect the agreed water neutrality position, the position of the phasing plan and the new plan policies. In to the conditions, previously we had condition 4, which related to hours of use on the Elector building, but that's not required, and with 24/7 working, it demonstrated the scheme would be water neutral. So then the following conditions are then numbered, and in particular the water neutrality condition was 32, now becomes 31. That's been updated to refer to water neutrality documents. And then condition 6, which now becomes 5, that related to the phasing plan, and that has been updated to cover the number of the phasing plan that we have been submitted, and is therefore no longer a pre-commencement condition. Finally, all the conditions have been updated to refer to the new adopted local plan. Just to conclude, the application has already been considered by the Planning Committee in April 2024 with a resolution to permit, subject to the conclusion of the Habitats Regulations consultation with Natural England, the completion of the Section 106 agreement and addition of conditions. However, since that resolution, there is a new policy context arising from the adoption of the new local plan in October and the updated MPPF. And it is this changed context that needs to be considered by the committee. The recommendation is to permit the application as set out in the agenda, which includes the additional elements for the 106 legal agreement and the updated conditions. Thank you.
Can I just clarify? The paperwork I've got here is to delegate the decision rather than permit.
Yes, it's to delegate. Yeah. Thank you.
That's fine. 2 speakers registered in regard to this item. Would Rory Joyce please come to the microphone? In front of you, you've got a button with a person. If you press that, then it will turn on the microphone and you've got 3 minutes to speak. There is a clock just above the TV there.
Can you hear me, sir?
You're live. And then when you start, the clock up there will start.
All right, thank you very much, Chairman. I'd like to start by again thanking your planning and design officers working with us over what's now the last 2 years on the proposed continued use and improvement of this commercial site within a main employment area at the heart of the Gatwick Diamond. It will support the continued economic growth of both Manor Royal and of Crawley. As Val told you, reporting to the earlier planning committee last year, the officers concluded that this regeneration scheme accorded with your planning policy then and recommended the planning permission be granted. Your planning committee accepted the recommendation unanimously and supported the application. Today, your officers are reporting again because of the NPPF, the new one, and your new local plan, and are again recommending planning permission be granted. The proposals for the phased redevelopment of the site to ensure the 3 new buildings are comprehensively planned, so each phase will be able to operate successfully within the wider development. The first phase for the demolition and redevelopment of the vacant house last used March 2018, years ago, before electors were elected into the adjoining cornerstone site. The new building has been specifically designed to meet electors' urgent need to further improve their operation here in Crawley. It will be used for world-leading research and development and state-of-the-art manufacturing. And the second phase will be for the building at the rear of the site. It will be vacated by elector when they move into the phase 1 building. It will provide storage and distribution use. And the final phase will be the existing building, the low building between Linac House and Cornerstone, which will also be used for storage and distribution. The existing road from Fleming Way will be wider and improved to meet modern requirements. There will be an enhanced landscape setting. There will be biodiversity net gain, a BREEAM excellent rate, and it will be comfortably water neutral. There have been no objections, but there have been letters of support from Manor Business Investment District, Diamond Business, and of course Lecter. We ask that you again support this application to improve this site. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. The second speaker is Dean. If you'd like to come to the mic. And you have 3 minutes to speak, and there's a clock up there to help you. You press the right button. There.
Got it. Thank you and good evening, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity again to come and just explain a bit more about Electa. We design, manufacture and sell life-saving cancer treatment technology solutions across the world. And we're committed to serving patients wherever they are in the world and have actually treated 300 million patients in the last 3 years by virtue of the strategy. The Crawley campus in the UK is the largest in Electa and a flagship for our linear accelerator technology, the key element of our treatment machines. We're the only European-based company dedicated to radiation therapy treatment systems. We want to stay in the UK, despite all of the challenges that have come our way since Brexit and the cost of now doing business in the UK. We employ more than 250 people in Electra in the UK and at least 4 times as many of that throughout the UK in our supply chain. Today, there are some 7,800 electric treatment systems installed across the world. We've been on the Crawley site for more than 60 years and have invested heavily to create a campus that attracts top talent in electrical and mechanical engineering, software and physics. Research and design teams have created a number of patented innovations over the years that have set the standard of care for radiation therapy and given hope to millions of patients and their families across the world. The manufacturing team have increased output from our tenfold over the last 35 years using modern methods, working in harmony with our supply chain and delivery partners. This planning application is absolutely key to ensure the continuation of manufacture and development of technology in Crawley. The old building, Linac House, was at the end of its useful life in 2018, and despite our best efforts, there's been no interest in letting it in its current form. And as you may know, this derelict Linac House is being set to an increasing level of break-in and vandalism, and it's become increasingly more urgent that we demolish this as soon as possible for the safety and security of the campus. Linac House is very energy inefficient on that plot and uses less water But already with the 24/7 working patterns, we don't believe water neutrality will be an issue. The new building will also have a BREEAM rating and fit with other buildings in the area, as you've seen from the images, and high economic value. The development represents a very large investment by Electa. The planning permission to develop the campus is pivotal to keep growing our company operations in the UK. We're 100% aligned with our landlord that this is a project that should be permitted. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. We shall now move on to the debate. Councillor Nawaz.
Thank you, Chair. I completely forgot, and I thank you reminding me. Being the board member of Manor Old Bed, I should my interest as a personal non-prejudicial interest for
prejudicial interest. Yes.
Yeah. Apologies for that. I forgot that completely. Thank you.
Okay, we'll now move on to the committee members wishing to speak should that the officer will respond to queries one by one. Councillor Adjoining.
Thank you very much. From what I can see, I think it's a very good project, and I think Electa, I know there was I'm a radiographer by profession, and I know some of the things you've been doing, especially with the issue of the MRI, fusion of MRI scanner plus Linac accelerator, and it will be a great thing that Crawley will host such technology and all that. But I also want to us to make sure whatever you're doing, you're also working in line with the various regulation. But it is going to be a proud thing for Crawley to be able to host such an organization, technology in Crawley, and I wish you all well. But at the same time, I would also want to us to go through to ensure that those regulations are, followed, and I wish your company all the best. Thank you. Yeah.
Any further comments from my colleagues? Okay, all members have had the opportunity to speak, so we'll the vote. The recommendation is to the decision to permit the head of economy and planning, subject to the conclusion of a Section 106 agreement and set out in the report. I will move the recommendation in the absence of a vice chair. For a volunteer to second, please. Can I ask for a show of hands all those for recommendation? Okay, thank you. That's a unanimous decision. Thank you. We'll now move on to agenda item 6. CR 2024-0306, Tilgate Playing Fields, Gainsborough, Tilgate. Ask the officer to present the report.
Splendid. Let's try it again. Machine. Thank you, Chair. Sorry for the delay there of our IT gremlins. So the application for you is to planning application. I think it's the first thing to say on this. The proposed permitted development, they are to be carried out by the council to install artificial wicket and some nets at Tilgate Playing Fields. So There they all are. They're not coming up either. Don't worry, I can talk through it. It's not a problem. Very sorry, the images are up on the screen, so I've got the one we've got up here already. So this application is actually just to discharge the water neutrality requirements. So in order for this development, the development has to demonstrate that it wouldn't use any more water than it would for the development being undertaken. So we're making a decision here about the acceptability of what's being proposed. We're only really looking at whether this is going to be water neutral or not. Since the report was written up, we've had the comments back from Natural England, who have confirmed they have no objection to the proposal. So subject to requiring the water neutrality measures to be undertaken, submitted details, which is the retrofitting of Synergist devices to the pavilion here, the building will be water neutral. The recommendation, therefore, is changed from deferral to be delegated to being approved at this meeting. So there's no need for it to go back to the head of economy and a decision to be taken here now. So, is it? Try it. No, is that what that is? Let's try. Oh, that one's working. But no, I'm just having a bit. I don't really know what's going on there. It's worked in the past. So it seemed to work a little bit earlier as well, but I don't know why it's not coming up. So in this particular instance, the proposal will give rise to likely go to another 11 additional matches at this site. And this is likely to result in more water usage. The details are actually contained within the report. So that additional water usage is likely to be 6,158.4 litres a year. That's an estimate. So with the retrofitting of the Synergist device to the taps, washroom, basins, everything else within the building, we'll end up with a savings over the whole usage when it's been used for cricket over the whole of the season. That we'll end up with a saving that exceeds the water usage by the extra use of 1,133 litres. The recommendation, therefore, from this meeting, now that we've had the confirmation from Natural England, is that this is approved as recommended here. So it's approved subject to the details listed in the neutrality statement and water saving strategy report. I'm very sorry for not being able to show you the plans, but the photographs do give an idea. So there'll be a bit of hard standing here with an artificial grass on it, and then netting over it. Anybody seeing cricket net? And then just an artificial wicket here on the square. Very minor things. So it's over to you now. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. I know speakers registered to this item. We'll now move on to the debate. Members wishing to speak should raise their hands. Councillor Jaggard.
I didn't think I was going to ask a question. So let me just get in. It's two areas and one, a different photo, I've got it up here, a one bit which is 30 metres by 3 metres wide of artificial grass, I don't know, made of. So can you let me know what that is made of and how water will drain from it? Because I don't know. I mean, if it's a football, like we've got a 3G pitch, it's a whole big area and it's completely different. This is just such a little strip, and I'm worried about water coming off of the artificial grass and making the surrounding proper grass very boggy. And how does it work?
So in this particular instance, proposed doesn't require planning permission subject to the water neutrality. So we haven't looked at, and we're not assessing anything to do with the drainage, because if it wasn't for the requirements to be water neutral, this would not be something that would either be subject to any control that the planning team in Crawley are required to undertake. As you say, though, it is a very, in relative terms, it's a very small part of the overall area that we've got here. It's one strip. I can't remember the exact width, but that's 22, just over 20 metres long by about 5 metres, about 5 metres wide, in the middle of the grass in the middle, and the other is 2 of those over by those trees. Yes, so we don't have that specific detail because it's not something that we're going to be assessing.
Anything further, Councillor Jaggard? Councillor Noires. Oh, sorry, Councillor Yanni, sorry.
That's all right. Can I just ask, the water saving devices, how are they maintained? And is that something that will have to be regularly maintained?
They need relatively little maintenance. They've relatively restrict water flow into the taps. You turn a tap on, rather than getting, say, 4 metres a minute, you'll get 3 metres. So have kind of moving parts and things of that nature. I think when they're in, they have a kind of life of about 30, I think it's 30 years, something along those lines. So it's not like there's lots of moving parts or anything like that. They've reduced the bowl, and they've been quite effective. They don't save water, for example, on filling up baths. It takes longer to fill up a bath. But for the, I don't know, if you're washing your hands, you'll get a bit less water. If you're running a shower, a bit less water, and that's where the water savings are achieved. That helps.
Okay, any supplementary questions or anything? No, Councillor Noires.
Thank you, Chair. Just on question, I think Councillor Jagger tried to ask that, and I'll ask a little bit differently. You mentioned 11 more teams over there. So nets will be nets, so you can't play a match there anyway. And the pitch will be Austro pitch, which doesn't mean it will allow you to play a cricket match only on the pitch. If the ground is wet, you can't play anyway. So how water neutrality will be an issue where you can't play additional matches on the pitch if only replacing that. I think in your comment you mentioned you installing multiple Synergist devices. My understanding is you only install the Synergist device on the source where the water is going to come from, not actually the taps and everything, because that is 2 different things.
So the first question is that having the artificial pitch should allow games to be played because, well, you're going to have fewer issues of kind of water logging and things like that. So it's saying that there'll be 11 extra games. I play cricket. We don't like to play on artificial pitch, really. We prefer playing on grass. I think part of that is to also allow sort of more children to play more regularly as well. So my boy plays cricket, and they quite often play on the artificial rather than. So it's a slightly wider. This is an estimate by the council of the likely number of games that they're expecting to achieve from this. You're right with the nets, of course. On those at any time, not whilst you're playing matches. Use those whilst you're waiting for the match to have practice and you'll go along for sessions. I'm not sure that itself will result in a huge number of additional much water use. As I say, from doing nets ourselves, you don't really need to go and use the facilities very much. But the overall is that the council stated that it will be an extra 11. In relation to the devices, there are different variations. There are different devices, and you can have some that are fitted to the mains, but there can be some that are fitted to individual pipes and individual fittings as well. I'm not the expert in precisely which fittings are going where, but there is some scope for things to be fitting. So when the council were undertaking its own scheme to retrofit council houses, options were looked at, both of the ones, and that's primarily what they've gone for. They could have gone into stuff. So there are different forms that achieve the water savings. So, thanks.
Okay, any other comments, colleagues? Okay, all committee members have the opportunity to speak, so we'll move on to the vote. The recommendation is to approve the case, the conditions set out by the planning officer. As chair, I will move the recommendation in the absence of a vice chair. Can I ask for a second? Councillor Hart. All those in favour of the recommendation? Again, that's unanimous. We now move on to agenda item 7. Application CR 2024 020 LBC Bewbush Manor Edwards Way. Can I ask the planning officer to present a report? Yeah. For the benefit of anyone watching live or on the recording, we have some technical issues in the meeting at the moment. We will continue very shortly. Are we ready to go now?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I think we've sorted out the IT gremlins.
Fantastic, thank you. I'll let you present your report then.
So thank you very much. So this presentation is an application submitted by Crawley Borough Council for listed building consent to make repairs to 33 windows, 3 external doors, and the replacement of 2 windows and 2 external doors at Bewbush Manor, Francis Edward Way. I'd just like to correct the report in 1.2 to start with. So right at the end of 1.2, it says it's currently in use as self-contained flats. It is buildings actually at one of the council's hostels. Slightly different use. So I'm sorry about the error in that. So that's the first thing. So this application, I don't know. If you could move on to the ground floor plan, that's great. If you could zoom in a little, please, that would be brilliant. The application is pretty much to undertake works to all the windows and doors within the building. They are highlighted here in the W, which are the windows, and the D02 doors. So we've got a number of repairs and replacements to the building. On the windows and doors to all be replaced on the ground floor. You can move over to the left a bit. Sorry, Val. And down a bit. And left a bit more. And then down a bit. Sorry. And a bit more, down a bit. That's it. So the first 2 windows to be used are W W09, which is above that bathroom on the left, sticks out on the left-hand side, and W08. They're both currently UPVC double glazed units, and they're going to be replaced by timber frame basement windows similar to. In addition, D04, which is a door there, which is half panelled, is to be a new timber door. And if we go further to the north, Val, sorry, push the other up. The other door to be replaced is just outside, is that D06 G07. So it's another sort of half glazed sort of timber door. Now the windows and doors are in pretty poor condition, but can be replaced and restored into a better condition. If you please move on to the elevations, say the south or west. South and west are best one to start with. So I guess as an example, the windows in the main building here to the right, that are facing, are all as the door into the porch. The building on the window in the building to the left, on that little bit that sticks out at the side, that's one of the ones to be replaced. This is the form of the windows to replace it, which is similar to the others. If we move down a little bit to this elevation here, the door, again, on the right-hand side here, this door here is replaced, and the others are to be repaired. If you could just switch to the other elevation, please, Val. The W09 G1 to the right here, in front of the bay window, is another one to be replaced, and that's the form. As you can see, all the others are to be replaced. Can't actually see the other door to be replaced. It's on one of the internal elevations, but it's similar type to the one that we've just seen. Val, if you could very kindly move on to the next part down. No, move down a bit. Next slide. Yes, please. If you could open the door repair standard details, please. So the applicant has submitted some excellent information with the application, setting out very clearly the works that would be undertaken, how they would be undertaken, the materials that would be used. This is the example of the methodology, the standard methodology that they'll be using for the repair of doors. As you can see, it will be cutting and splicing timber into existing doors in a sympathetic way, using traditional methods and using matching materials. This keeps the majority of historic doors and the material and enhances the quality of the doors for the residents that live there. If you could show me the windows one, please, Val. Either any of the windows would be great. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that'd be excellent. So just as an example, similar kind of information that's been submitted that shows how some of the repairs will be taken to the windows. In this case, you can see in the top row we've got damaged sills. They'll be cut out and new sills installed. Where there's damage to the frames, damaged parts will be removed, cut out, wood timbers kept, and then the new timbers will be spliced in to maintain the existing windows. You could move on to the any of the window repair ones, for example, W03. So here an example of identified of some of the necessary. This is just an example of 33 of these different plans. When you're going to bring up a couple to show them. So the areas in green are where the timber needs to be removed. As you can see from the photograph, the external photograph, the top one, is very handy. You can actually see some of the damage that has occurred to the window, and it correlates where the repair is green. So we've been provided with full information what's required to be undertaken, where it's been, where it needs to be undertaken, and how it's going to be undertaken, as well as the materials. The council's heritage consultant, listed building consultant, has no objection to the proposals. It will, if undertaken, it's considered it to be both an enhancement, I don't get to say it very often, to the character of the listed building, because replacing some unsympathetic windows with some more sympathetic ones, and the same with doors. And it will restore the building to create a better environment for residents as well. The recommendation is to grant consent on the basis of the recommendation. Thank you very much.
There are no speakers registered in this item, so we'll move on to the debate. Those wishing to speak, please raise your hand. Councillor Yanni.
So you said that it's a hostel rather than a contained property. Are there people living in there?
Yes.
Okay. So how will the works affect them? Like, how long will this take to restore?
I can't specifically explain that because it's not something that's subject to planning control. So it will be subject to the control of the council as the landlord. It will be down to Crawley Homes to determine how they accommodate residents or move people around to make sure that things are done acceptably. I can't imagine taking some of the windows out that people were there at that time, but it's just not something that's our remit to consider, I'm afraid.
Really sorry, I haven't.
Councillor. Sorry, Councillor Young. Carry on.
Sorry, I had another question. Do the repairs have long-term evidence? So will there be further evidence that will be needed?
So some of the services to be undertaken to repair them will provide, what we say, put the whole of the windows into a far better condition than they are and bring them back into use. But with all timber frame windows, in fact, with all even sort of UPVC, they all do need maintenance at certain times, and this will continue. So where, for example, some of the windows are going to be reputted over times, putty can become loose, it goes hard, and things will have to be replaced. But this, at the moment, is what can we say, removing damaged timber, replacing the damaged timbers, and bringing the building back into a far better condition than it's in at the moment. Everything will then be painted, it will be treated and then painted as well, and it should last for a significant time. But yes, it will need maintenance as any building does. That's right.
Okay. Councillor Jaggard.
It's not really a question. It's just that I am really delighted. We don't have very many listed buildings in Crawley, so I'm really pleased that we're doing this repair and replace in such a crafted, traditional way. And I've looked at the joints and things being done, and they are beautifully crafted, to say, with oak pins rather than nails and things. There are some screws, but oak pins are being used, and that is really pleasing to see that we are taking the time and effort to keep this building in really good condition for the residents and for the future. That listed buildings it's difficult to get listed building status, so I'm really delighted doing this. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree with Councillor Jaggard. I mean, if we don't agree to this, we are going to be causing problems and damage to a valuable building. The integrity of windows and doors is essential to keep the building in a good condition. I'm really impressed with the level of craftsmanship and taking back, I believe you said some of it's taking it back to the original models and preserving that for future generations. So I'm very Councillor Khan.
I'm really pleased that we are doing something about that, because I've been to the building a few years ago and I've seen families in the building. So, like Councillor Yanni's only worry is that I hope they don't get too disrupted, like when they're doing all everything. But no, I'm really happy that we are doing something about this building. It's just a lovely building. It's a lovely place. So we've got loads of families in there.
I'd just like to add that part of the proposal is also to relocate some of the secondary glazing. So by relocating some of the secondary glazing, away from the historic glazing, you end up with a bigger gap, so there's more air, which means you end up with less issues with condensation and rot. So longer term, it will actually be an improvement for residents as well as the building as well. So it's a kind of supports what you're saying, that overall the whole environment, the condition of the building should be improved by the works that have been undertaken.
Okay, any more comments or questions? Okay, all committee members have had the opportunity to speak, so we move on to the vote. The recommendation is to consent, subject to the conditions set out in the report. I will move the recommendation in the absence of a vice chair. Can I ask for a seconder? Councillor Jaggard. Can I have a show of hands, all those for the recommendation? Again, it's an unanimous decision. Thank you. Can I ask councillors to step back stay back while the recording's turned off? There is a matter to be dealt with straight afterwards. It'll only be a few minutes. Thank you. There is a supplementary agenda. The business of the committee has concluded, so the meeting is closed at 20:26. Thank you.